RogueCon 23. That's right. It is here. It's not back. It's here. It's the first one. Join the ultimate celebration of digital content with its creators, passionate fans, and industry experts. It is all happening in downtown Waco across multiple venues, January 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Now, if you want to go, you got to get tickets, and tickets are on sale at RogueCon23.com. That's RogueCon, RogueCon 23.com. Be there. I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. Let's go.
BooBaes.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to BooBaes.
BooBaes, that's right. Your favorite podcast about horror films and spooky times.
Yes.
And we're your hosts.
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caitlin. And we're here to tell you about a fan favorite.
Yes, it is.
A fan of ours favorite.
Yeah, a fan's favorite.
A fan's favorite, yes.
Yes, one of our listeners.
That's right. And
who is this listener, Caitlin?
This is Jeff.
Jeff.
Yay, Jeff.
Jeff, one of our favorite listeners, Mr.
Yes.
Jeff. And the movie that we are talking about
is Mama.
Mama, 2013, Mama. I don't know if I'm sure there's other movies called Mama. But 2013, the supernatural horror film.
Directed by the
Guillermo
Del
duo.
Toro.
Yeah. Well, it was produced by him, Guillermo, right? And directed with him and
I get those
the other
words
dude.
Combined.
Yeah, it's directed by I had his name literally pulled up and I was all ready for it, but then Andy Muschietti. And his directorial debut, and it is based off his 2008 Argentine short story film named Mama. And yeah,
I tried to find it to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find it. I also didn't look on YouTube though.
Gotcha.
So
No,
it's probably on there.
I actually did find a clip of it and it was a clip of it and another clip, essentially trying to find it on Google.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty creepy. And I could see where the inspiration from that
it is
gave
3 minutes long.
Yeah, it's very short apparently.
Very much like the Lights Out short. I remember seeing that one before that movie came out.
Oh really?
The
I
short,
hadn't seen it beforehand.
The short was
Same as
honestly more
scarier.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes things that are short pack more of a punch.
It's like the 2 sentence horror stories and
Yeah.
stuff. Not that the show is scary, but like some of the ones, whenever you read them, it's like, oh God. And it was only 2 sentences.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, this movie came out 2013, like we said. I remember I watched it in the theater. I remember I liked it. I remember I liked it upon its initial, like my first watching viewing of it.
Came out in January. It was supposed to come out in 2012, but they didn't want it to come out at the same time as the Paranormal Activity 4.
Gotcha. Okay,
so
yeah,
they
I mean,
pushed
kind of
the
makes
release
sense.
back. And then I'm wondering, like,
2013 was also the same year that The Conjuring came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, because I was wondering, like, how is it going? I was wondering how it did in comparison to that, but I'm imagining it dropped before then. But then
Probably.
The Conjuring became like one of the highest grossing horror films of all time, is what we talked about, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
It made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money.
And so, this film kind of, what's a good way?
You can watch the short film that inspired Mama here on a page I had pulled up. So clearly I just started my research and then didn't actually.
Yay. Finishing things halfway through.
Yeah.
That's how we like to do it.
No follow through.
Picking it up later, but probably not.
And that's called ADHD.
But nonetheless, the movie is it's okay. We're running on we'll put it into the podcast.
I'm running on tears.
it's about I would say, what would you say? A supernatural entity that adopts two children that are
essentially abandoned.
In some unfortunate situations. And it's a pretty Lemony Snicket type of situation, I would say.
Yeah.
Except if Lemony Snicket was dead and trying to kill you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like she had the best intentions.
She was really, if anything, trying to protect them because she thought they were hers.
This is the ultimate definition of a helicopter parent.
Yeah, I can see that.
She flies around you.
Yeah, she does. You're right.
And then she swings little Lily around. So she makes Lily a helicopter. Not really.
Into a helicopter moth.
Helicopter moth, that's right. Yeah, man, I do remember the first time I watched this and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that definitely doesn't give way to the whole, like, it has to have a good, like, everybody survived happy ending. It definitely, I was also surprised when the ending happened because I thought, oh, wow, wait, what?
They're going to let this happen? But it did seem like, honestly, thinking about, like,
but Lily's,
it's perfect. All of her formative years were
everybody
with
won.
Mama.
Everybody, it was a win-win situation, kind of.
Yeah, and she got to be with Mama for
except for her sister, essentially, because Victoria now has to at least lives without her sister. But I mean, they were also little, so it's like
maybe she will.
Very like cynical of me, but I'm just like, it's not like she had that much long with her. She'll just remember her as like a really nostalgic like.
She was 8.
They were
And so I'm very confused as to how she was 3 and speaking as well as she was. And
the
with
little
the
one.
Confidence.
Victoria.
Victoria, when they like found her, I believe was 8.
Yes, after the years.
5 years
later.
After. So a 3-year-old was talking as well as she was
at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And because then I was like, she does look kind of small.
No, my I feel like that's right. Well? Yeah, because I have my nephews and nieces, and about that age.
She seemed to just talk with a higher level of maturity, and her lines were delivered. I mean, I don't know. I would have trouble. Most of the 3-year-olds I've met are a little more like shy, and not as like concise.
Gotcha.
And she was very like, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think it depends. But for sure, I mean,
they're also, it's a movie.
It's a movie. And they're little kid actors as well.
I thought she was 5. I would have guessed 5.
5? Yeah. I mean, I
also am never around children that
like that little, yeah.
I know exactly one child that I have like been with since its birth. Her birth. And she's 6 now.
Okay, cool.
And I don't know. She was giving me more like her age.
That she is now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that at the beginning.
Yeah.
But that is, and well, in the beginning, their whole ordeal that they're going through. So we're starting off this movie with a
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, we have a really important guy in charge of a company, or like the CFO, not the CEO, essentially. And it's right whenever I guess the turn of the economy was going down and shit hit the fan.
So that was the dad.
That was the dad.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was reading my closed captioning and the radio announcer was saying something about like suicides and murders and stuff. And so I was like, I was just assuming that they, in a stock market crash. And I was assuming that they lived in, or like worked in the stock market stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't certain that it was him. So
it was him. It was him.
Stuff crashed.
I think,
he was in charge of it.
Yes.
Like his portfolios.
Yes, and they ended up killing like some employees, ended up killing his boss, and then ended up killing his ex-wife that was there at the house. I feel like this like thing that was on the car, this was all kind of like already happening after the fact, kind of news reporting that they were just playing and we were seing everything play out, if that makes sense. Because he then took.
But is that the car he got into? So the one he crashed. Okay, well that's kind of weird if they chose to do it that way.
Off the hill.
Yeah, because if that was happening like an after the fact report, I have trouble believing that. The timeline is all weird. But okay.
But that's him. Like that's the storyline.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was his ex-wife.
Yes.
And so he was like going to like pick up the kids, or why was he going to murder her?
Because
she was there to pick up the kids.
He was losing it, I guess, and he just had a mental breakdown. He had already like shot and killed his boss and like went on like a rampage, and then was going to their house to essentially take the kids. And I don't know, do what? Eventually, yeah. After, because he had already killed the wife. Well, because he was going to shoot himself first, but then I guess he was too much of a coward to shoot himself. Then he was just like, well, let me just shoot the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe whenever he, Okay, yeah. So.
But yeah.
And you do hear the gunshot at the beginning. And then I said, and a busted looking man comes in. He was looking real rough.
Yeah.
And he says, Mommy's not feeling well.
Yeah.
And God, the way he was driving, why the fuck? I mean, I know why they weren't in car seats, because he was trying to kill them. But I was like, why are these kids not in car seats? And then I was like, whenever I was writing that, and then he started like accelerating.
Swerving, going crazy. Yeah. And then at one point he even wants to take like his meds. Because I'm assuming there's something that maybe, I don't know, that he was supposed to be taking meds for, and maybe he was just going through a really rough time and just kind of had a really mental breakdown at this point.
Yeah. And people who work in the stock market and like accountants like have the literal highest rate of suicide.
Right. Yeah.
That was my favorite fun fact that my brother told me whenever he went into the field of accounting.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't tell me that.
I feel like too, because just that like dealing with money when it's large sums and like having a lot of that weight on you, even like, you know, the stress of like financial debt, sometimes like that stress is like, ugh. So like imagine when it's like so much money and they have to report and it's money. Yeah. And then it all falls on you. And then like, what do you do?
And it's literally all just like betting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like
gambling. Yeah.
And I can't, that's why I can't gamble. I have no problem spending $200 on three tables.
Yeah.
On a literal 3-second whim.
But that's something tangible. That's something you're going to have.
True.
That's not like a gambling is a very unknown situation. It's very risky.
No return.
Yeah.
I have immediate gratification.
What is it? High risk, low yield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounded right.
Yeah.
I have listened to my brother talk about finances sometimes. Sometimes he'll just go off and he's like, blah, 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 this is what's happening. And I'm like, I have no clue what you're saying. But then also when other things, like when prices do rise, I'm like, hey, why are gas prices going up?
Why is this happening?
And he's like, because of this, and this. And I'm like,
yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud, for being the news.
Sometimes it's better to hear it right from the horse's mouth.
That's
what they say, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a saying.
Eat the carrots.
And so he ends up taking these kids. They're driving sporadically on this really snowy mountaintop. I don't know where he thinks he's going, but he's driving really fast. And even Victoria's like, Daddy,
thinking he was going off the
probably
cliff.
and just gonna kill them all like that. And she's like, Daddy, please, like, slow down. You're driving crazy. And he's like, still doing it. And then they end up like sliding.
Shut up.
Yeah, and sliding right off of not a cliff, but like one of those like
mountain side.
Yeah, for sure. There's some space in between them and hitting
a very
steep
ground hill.
Yeah, I would say. And I don't know how they survived, to be honest. Maybe because the snow.
Maybe.
But I thought snow was even more like harder, like impactful.
If
it's dense, you know.
If it's a powdery snow, no. But
like compacted snow.
Because like when I've like busted my ass snowboarding before. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. Yeah, and like fucked up my telephone for a bit.
Ouch.
So I mean, and then there's one time I like accidentally scorpioned, and so like my board hit the back of my head.
I would be so afraid to do that. Like
I went down like a good portion of this hill on my face. I like had snow all in my nose, my mouth, my ears.
I'd be afraid to ski and snowboard. That's
the skiing I'm afraid
I heard that one's harder than snowboarding.
Yeah, I just did snowboarding because I skated for a while, so it just seemed like the right choice. Skis, I was in ski wee school when I was young because my dad worked at a ski resort for the longest time, and so all I remember is pizza and French fries. But I have those like intrusive thoughts of like, if I'm on the skis, I'm gonna crash, and then one's gonna stab me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like whenever the teachers would come around and check your head for lice, every time they would do that, I just imagine the pencils like stuck in my head. Or
that's
when
how
I clean my ears with Q-tips.
I feel like that's how I feel like when you like go to the dentist and like they're doing drilling, and then I'm like, one of these is gonna like really do something bad. They're gonna slip, or they're gonna sneeze, and it's just gonna
chop off your whole tongue,
or just stab me. Yeah.
all the way into your brain.
Blood everywhere.
I love it.
And they are they essentially make it. They are escape without any scratches, really.
Yeah,
and they're
all
walking,
fine.
and they're walking through the woods until they find a cabin. And then it says like the name Helvetica on it.
Helvetia.
Helvet.
Okay, they said something else later, but I saw Helvetia.
Helvetia, okay.
Or Helvetia, I think is what they call it.
Maybe.
I thought it was Helvetica at first as well, and I'm like the font.
Like the font.
And then I was like, no, I like kind of paused it. There wasn't a C, but I think there may be a C somewhere else.
Maybe.
And I think I still spelled
Helvetia,
it wrong.
maybe.
Helvetia, I don't know.
But who knows? Maybe well, we find out later. But there's someone inside for sure, most definitely.
Yeah, a little figure rushes past
because Victoria sees it. I believe she definitely notices, but Dad's not really paying attention to that. They end up going inside. Dad's starting a fire.
Beautiful. I was like in the middle of typing. Look at this mid-mod furniture, so cute. And then I was like, JK, he's fucking breaking it to make a fire, whatever.
Yeah, literally. And then it's really grungy in there already from the get-go. And then he ends up kind of having this moment in the kitchen while the girls are kind of just there in the living room. Victoria's looking outside and she mentions that she sees someone outside. There's a lady outside and she's
Daddy,
like,
there's a woman outside. She's not touching the floor.
Literally.
And it's like,
but he couldn't pay any attention to her. And
because he's about to shoot himself.
Yeah, about to shoot himself, but then decides not to. And it decides that it's going to be a lot easier to just shoot the girls instead. And so he ends up putting the gun next to her.
At first, I was like, you are not about to do that in front of your kids. Like,
and then
just leave them there with your rotting corpse.
But then we see what he tries to do next.
And then this is also, not good. He takes her glasses and she's
so
like,
she can't see. Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, poor baby.
And then he just like holds her head that way so she's facing out the glass door.
It's like,
and he's about to literally shoot her in the back of the head, but then we have
Mama to the rescue.
A spirit come up from behind him that we don't really see, and through most of the movie we kind of don't really see her until we get more of her, but for the most part at the beginning we don't see her too much.
It's just like wispy.
Yeah, it's like
bits. There are a lot of moments in this film where I was like, man, Del Toro has a type with his like directional and with his artistic kind of eye, because there were quite like the black moths, the way that these ghosts and that she was
pops in and out,
like very much of Crimson Peak.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then also Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, for sure. Which is probably how they met.
Yeah.
And then got in touch and then got that one done. But we have all of that happening.
That's also how
she pops
was
up.
In it too. Because
that's right.
Muschietti. Is that how you say his name?
He directed both of them, I believe.
It's 1 and 2. Yeah, but she was in it too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
he was the director of that, and that's why he couldn't be in the second one of Mama, which apparently there was a sequel.
There was.
Or was going to be, and he couldn't be involved in it because, it was only Del Toro, I believe. He couldn't be, even though it was his idea and everything, like, because he wrote the short film, him and his, I believe, sister. And
Barbara.
He couldn't do it because he was already signed on with it.
Gotcha.
And, like, that was obviously, like, his main focus.
More president. And brought him the big bucks.
Phenomenal. I love the new It's so
they're
much.
Both good.
And they're hilarious.
We'll have to cover them at one point as well.
We'll make a funny movie.
And so
classify them as more horror comedy.
They could be. They are. Especially the original too as well.
One of my all-time faves is in it. So
Curry? Who? What?
Who's Curry?
Tim?
Oh, no. Sorry.
In the new ones.
In the new ones.
Oh, gotcha.
I was like trying to go through my head. I was like, Curry. And then I was like, Steph Curry?
No.
And so,
we've got Dad is dead. Dad is dead, and these babies got no one. And then they start getting little cherries.
It was a big-ass cherry.
Something gives it a cherry. Yeah, these are huge cherries. I don't know cherries that look like
thought
that.
it was a plum.
I thought so too.
I was
it's not a cherry at least.
Look at this little plum. Or a very like rotten apple, when they start shriveling. I also thought it could have been that.
Could have been an Oregon. And then we get some credits and we get a title sequence that says Mama. And then we get a 5 years later flash. And we are and
we're seeing like kind of their story unfold throughout the illustrations on the walls too. Like we see them eating rats. And I was like, oh, just like Homeboy from Grave Encounters.
Yep. Ratma.
And then like them all crawling, the drawings of Lily crawling on all fours.
Oh yeah, it's creepy.
It freaked me out.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, especially later when we see it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was like, no, I'm sorry. I would have like punched that child.
Yeeted
I would
across
like,
the room.
Whenever she turns around and she's on that countertop right behind her, my immediate reaction would have been like, or like frying pan to the face.
Stabbed it, hit it. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrifying.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's to say what I would do in that moment, but same, I would hope that I would do that. But also I feel like I might just like jump and like
pee myself,
run away. We have 5 years later, we see that our guy from earlier, Dad,
Lucas,
had a brother, which essentially is, I don't know if it's established that it's a twin. Did I hear that it was a twin? Did you hear that it was a twin? I don't know.
They did look remarkably similar.
It's the same actor.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's the exact same actor. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, wait, did we establish that this was a twin or not? I never really get spoken, but if not, they're
and
just
he looked
really
definitely more like him 5 years later.
Yeah.
At first, whenever he pulled up to the house when everything was going on, and he pulled up to the like police line.
Oh yeah.
And stuff, and he's like, "My name's Lucas. Like I'm his brother." Blah blah blah. He had much more of a beard.
Yeah.
Then, and he looked a little more like woodsy.
Yeah.
And then now he looked more
like him,
like his brother did.
Yeah.
And I was
whenever that was happening at the beginning.
That makes sense as to why they look so similar.
Yeah. It's the same person. And so I was like, oh wait, is that his twin? But yeah, they're whatever. At this point, he's talking to some dudes who are in the woods who are looking for him for his nieces and his brother. Essentially, at this point, he still is. There were never any bodies recovered, so he's still on the search for them.
Yeah.
And
they're
these
basically
guys
combing the woods.
Yeah,
too.
but they're not even really looking at this point. They're just kind of taking his money. At this point, they're kind of just pissing around, literally pissing.
Well, I mean, because his last payment didn't go through.
That's true.
So that means like technically they haven't been paid for this work, and they don't know if the work is
gonna get paid for. So why even work? That's true.
Even though it's a good cause, it's still their job.
Yeah.
So I would probably be inclined to also kind of dick around. Hey, but they're dicking around got them somewhere because they fucking found them.
They see the car. And then they're like, huh,
the guy goes
what's
to piss
that?
on it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's whenever they end up finding the cabin. They go inside. I believe they see that there is like a
giant pile of cherry pits.
Yeah, exactly. A giant pile of cherry
Lily
pits.
coming down the stairs like
very creepily.
Oh, that part alone was like
yeah.
I don't
know like how or what they did or if it was sped up, but it just did not look human, of course, and it just looked very creepy and like something that was about to come attack you. It
was terrifying.
Really,
she looked like
it's really scary.
Yeah,
especially because you imagine like you're in a cabin, you're in the woods, like it's really dark in there, you can't really see that well around you,
and then you just see this little like figure going,
and you hear like I think if anything it would be like hearing the pitter patter of like it going right around you.
Yeah. Like 4 feet basically on the ground. So like it's
because they're moving like feral animals at this point. They're not moving like little kids.
Yeah.
They're not on 2 feet.
Victoria, the homeboy, finds the pits piled up in the kitchen. And Victoria's just sitting there like perched on top of the little tiny baby fridge.
Yeah.
And sitting there looking hella weird too. She sat like how the cats sit.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was like, what are you doing?
And so they're kind of just like looking at the old men that are there, and the old men are kind of like, what the crap? And so they end up calling the brother, which I'm trying to remember his name, but we'll come up to it here in a second. Lucas. They end up calling Lucas, and it's kind of like, oh, we found him. And that's whenever he ends up going into... We see he has a girlfriend, and she's a part of a rock band. And she's played by Jessica Chastain in the worst wig ever.
This look. Yeah, her hair was so bad.
It was so bad. It's a wig.
Was like y'all couldn't have done
horrible.
anything better for
but
her.
But this, yeah.
Like just shave her head.
Yeah, honestly.
At this point,
because she's supposed to be like this really grunge rocker, like punk, like going against the status quo.
I've never once in my life thought that I wanted Kristen Stewart to play a role.
She would have been perfect for this.
She would have.
Yeah.
Probably done a really great job. I'm just imagining her as, whenever she was whenever she was in the Joan Jett film. She did a great job in that, I personally think.
Yeah, I can see that. And she could have just basically played that character on this
I don't think she could have delivered, well, maybe now. I don't think in 2013 she could have delivered as quite as bitchy of a performance as Jessica Chastain did. because at the beginning, like Annabel, her name.
Annabel, yeah.
It took me a while. I kept referring to her as Jessica, and I was like, this is Annie. But she was really lucky a fucking bitch.
Yeah, she was. She
super
was just kind of insensitive, very kind of seemed a little bit more selfish, a little bit more about her. She seemed very much also. At this point, did we already get the whole her with the little piston stick thing?
Yes. Yeah. That was going on while he was getting the phone call.
Right. Yeah. Which was her peeing on a pregnancy stick, and it was negative, and you can really see this big sigh of relief on her, which is really just going and noting that like she's obviously not ready for motherhood. She wants to still be young and not have like any kind of responsibility.
She just wants to play in her little rock band.
Yeah, essentially she probably just wants to get famous and be a rocker. She loves cereal.
She did.
And so cereal's good. And so they end up going to the girls. They're gonna go meet with them at this hospital and facility, some type of place.
Child like psychiatry. Building.
Basically a little cage for the girls. Because they go into this room where they see them. They're kind of looking at them first through this window thing, and they're obviously getting
like a
told.
Double-sided mirror kind of thing.
They're obviously getting told. It honestly just looked like
a regular
freaking
mirror.
Plexiglass, like when you go look at babies, like in a baby room.
Oh yeah.
But they're getting told like obviously like they were in the woods. They aren't used to people. Their formative years were spent,
They're like basically straight up wild animals.
Yeah, exactly.
The way they move and everything.
So they were just like caution going in. They might not remember you at all, and this is why they're acting this way.
Yeah.
And
whenever he came in and like he approaches Victoria because I'm pretty sure Lily was like, absolutely the fuck not, get back.
Yeah.
And then he hands her the glasses, and I was like, bitch, how'd you get her prescription right?
I don't know.
You don't think for
it changed,
5 years
it changed
being without her glasses that her eyesight didn't get dramatically worse? Mine got worse in 4 years.
Yeah.
I just got my eye exam done, and mine got pretty bad.
I need to go and get mine done. I haven't done it in
and I've been
a year.
wearing glasses the whole time. Yeah, you're supposed to go like every year. I've had the same glasses for 4 years. So.
I feel that.
I bought 2 pairs. A few years. And then when my one broke, I had to wear this one.
I feel you. I don't know maybe they honestly could have maybe checked her eyes there in the process and then made some.
And then not given them to her until he could.
Well, maybe they felt like it was more like
a trusting thing.
Bond, maybe
he
type
gives
of situation.
Sight.
And she loves him.
Yes.
There we go.
Because she says, Daddy.
Yeah, she does.
Because she thinks it's her fucking dad.
Exactly like her fucking dad. He could have just said
guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me.
Honestly.
Sorry about that. I got lost.
I got lost from right behind you.
And I'm back now. So I'm your dad now. So they're going through all of that. He's talking to her, and she's obviously... She kind of warms up a lot faster than Lily does.
Yes.
We're going through a whole process of their psychiatrist dude. What's his name? Dr. Leviathan? Doofus. There we go.
Doofenshmirtz.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz. And he's going over how he wants them to take the kids into this house. Then it's court ordered that all bills will be paid for if they take these girls to this house, so that way they can be monitored.
Because
basically.
They've created this because of their like being abandoned having to live on their own. They like naturally created this imaginary
mother figure,
quotes, guardian to take care of them that they call mama.
Yeah.
And it's just, he's like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah. He wants to study them.
He's a doctor. Yeah. He wants to study them.
For his personal gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was writing like a book, we find out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was like, I need them to be in this house. You can live there rent free, and you can get custody of the kids, because we went through like where we end up going and seeing that when they go into the courtroom with Jean, who is the ex-wife's sister.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just like, she was real mean.
Well, Jean already from the get, you can tell she's like a Karen role. She's just like a real hella bitch. I mean, but obviously I can kind of get like maybe like, I mean, her sister was shot. Those are her kids that were taken into the woods. Like, I don't know.
Lucas never did. And she did like point out, she was like, Lucas, never once gave up looking for his brother and the girls. And he did this all out of the kindness of his heart, not for any sort of gain. And his, overall just general how much he cares about for the girls. So if he still cares for them, he should not take them in, because she was like, your salary and your apartment is not conducive for like raising two children who are also in need of a lot of help in therapy.
And so a lot of this too basically was like the workings of the Dr. Doofenshmirtz too, because for his personal gain of wanting to write the book, convinced the courts that if they moved into this house and it was all like sanctioned by him and whatever,
which
that
is like,
it would
honestly,
all work
it seemed
out.
like a pretty good
deal to BH.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you get the girls, you get this house rent free, like sell your fucking apartment.
They get therapy for free, like all the things that they need. Yeah.
Like as long as you're not like,
if you need help with like dealing with some wild animal child you got from the woods, you have a doctor there to help you already. Like, yeah.
I don't think you can really think of a better setup.
Really?
Because I mean, as long as they're not like performing super invasive procedures and like opening up their brains and shit, like, yeah. Sign me up.
Take a gander. But we'll find out how that happens.
Yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
RogueCon 23. That's right. It is here. It's not back. It's here. It's the first one. Join the ultimate celebration of digital content with its creators, passionate fans, and industry experts. It is all happening in downtown Waco across multiple venues, January 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Now, if you want to go, you got to get tickets, and tickets are on sale at RogueCon23.com. That's RogueCon, RogueCon 23.com. Be there. I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't rap, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.
But yeah, so they work out that whole deal.
They do work out that whole deal, and then we
cut to
transition to Dr. Doofenshmirtz talking to
I just call him Doc. I think in my notes.
Dr. Doof.
I like Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
I do too. Reminds me of Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah, that's the only thing it should remind you of.
Really, honestly, yeah, I guess that's true.
I was like, I don't think there's a whole bunch of other Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
It's like the Doctor Who series, but Dr. Doofenshmirtz. And so he's talking to Victoria and is asking her questions about Mama, because essentially his whole thing is trying to figure out, or more so, I think at this point, his running theory is that she has DID and has developed a whole other personality called Mama that took care of her and Lily.
Yeah.
Among other theories, probably.
Especially after hearing this, because as we find out later, too, that she hasn't been super receptive to any of the treatment up until this 6th hypnotherapy session, which is what we're viewing right now.
Yeah.
Which we don't know that that's the 6th one, but we find it out later. And while he's talking with her and stuff, she's basically like, she talks about this woman who ran away from a hospital for sad people.
It's Mama's life story.
Yeah. And took her baby and jumped into the water.
Yeah.
And he was like, how do you know this story? And she said, she showed me.
To me in a tree. Yeah. And he's like, well, what happened to the baby? And she's like, well, I don't know. She can't show me. She doesn't know what happened to the baby.
She can't find it.
She can't find it.
She doesn't know. Yep. And then we're getting to the house now, and they come out of the car, and I was like, Victoria's starting to look normal again, but little one is still looking fucking weird.
Yeah, just like looks like she was digging in dirt all the time, like really rough.
Covered
her hair's
in cuts.
Yeah.
And like Victoria's hair's nice and kind of styled and stuff, and she's in like normal clothes and shoes. Yeah, which is great. And
I think the little one still, Lily doesn't even want to put shoes on at this point. Still, right? She's barefoot. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
She was barefoot.
Yeah,
and her feet had little cuts on them. I was gonna say her cuts had.
She was
feet.
gross. She needed a little bath.
Imagine if all your little cats they grew tiny feet.
Oh Lord, that's a horror movie. Yeah, that's something for Guillermo del Toro to do.
Okay, I'm gonna let you say his name because every time I try to say Guillermo, I even trip up on it. It's a hard one. It's the double L and the right into the UERMO. Yeah.
But
I cannot roll
and
my
then the
R's.
So
Guillermo.
we have, and then Annabelle is like immediately on the like get go of them like walking up to her. They're kind of right in front of the house. Little Lily is like, "Mama,"
and she's like, "I'm not your mama."
She's like, "No, you can call me anything else but that." Yeah. So already we're getting from like Annie is not down for it. She's like, "Yeah, yo, don't call me that."
She is the dad who didn't want to get a cat.
Yeah.
But then ends up loving them the most.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's her with Victoria.
That's her role. Just Victoria, though, because Lily's a little bitch.
Lily likes her a little bit when she breathes on her
hands. A little bit. Very transactional. And
you breathe on my hands. I like you.
I like you. That's it. And they have their little Dachshund is so cute. They have this little chunky Dachshund that we see a few times.
And it's named Handsome.
Handsome.
And it was their Dachshund who was at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. It was her dog. It was her family's dog prior.
Yeah, which is, they took it in.
Yeah.
And we
he's
have
such a good boy.
He's a very good boy. We have them getting ready for bedish, I guess, and that's whenever
my
we
note
have.
was, I swear, if one of them eats a dog, I was imagining the kids were going to be like, exactly. I was like, oh my god, Lily's going to be like, this is like a rat.
Oh, this is the one where
eat it.
The dog doesn't die. Usually dogs
die.
Always die in scary movies. This one doesn't. It's so good.
I was. That's why I put it, because I was like, I swear, if one of them eats a dog and I just repress this memory and I don't remember it, then. But thankfully, they
repressing dog death. Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah.
And he's so chunky, so cute. He's got a little round belly.
He does.
So we have the Lily. She's sleeping under the bed, like literally under the bed.
With like vines wrapped around her.
I don't know.
It looked like Lucas pulled on some vines,
and just to make her more comfortable. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would have just went and got one of them little at HEB, them little kiddie pools that are like pink, that are like $12.
Yeah.
And like put some dirt in it and put some grass and just there you go.
You can sleep
through some like kibble.
Yeah.
And then there you go.
Some little bird seed.
Some bird seed. Cherries. That's what it. Cherries would have been perfect. Yep. I mean, honestly, too, though, it's if you think about it, too, though, I kind of get it with Lily. Essentially, obviously, she still had
infant.
Yeah, and she still had like this whole spirit hanging around, so obviously that was still lingering and keeping her in that mentality. But she was the baby, and like that's all you know, like it probably would take her months and months to break out of that, as opposed to like they wanted her to just sleep in the bed like normal, you know.
On
first night.
She's never known it, like never remembered anything different.
I hate to break it to you, she ain't ever gonna be normal.
No.
Like never. Like she could probably get like 99% there, but they're never gonna be like.
I was trying to think of like people who were like mole people growing up and stuff.
Do you know mole people?
No, but like in the real life cases. Or like
how many mole people?
The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Or Tarzan.
Trying
to think of Mowgli and all them.
Oh yeah. That is hilarious.
I was trying in my brain. I was like, I guess she does have some hope. I believe the little girl's actress she doesn't actually speak a lot of English, and that's why her dialogue is so limited in the film.
That makes sense. Yeah, that probably that helped a lot too.
She does say like 5 words. It's like Mama, Victoria.
That's true. And even
Mama.
when she does say Victoria, she has like this little accent. That's true. It does have like this Victoria. Beelzebub. Satanas. Dude, that song stays in my head. Literally, TikTok is over here possessing people, I'm sure.
I love it.
And so we have what's even happening? She's sleeping under their bed and vines. We have Lily or Victoria, like we said, is being really normal up at this point, really. And that's whenever we have the
that lady coming in talking to Dr. Doofenshmirtz, saying that there's no history of any of the asylums or anything like within the past 5 years is what she was looking at.
Yeah.
And there's no like asylums or anything nearby.
Corroborate that story that Victoria told.
Yeah. The closest one was 200 miles away, she says. But then she says, but there is St. Gertrude Asylum by Guthod Lake or something. And that's 5 miles away. And he's like, you just told me that there were no asylums.
But she's like, because it was in 18 something.
It was shut down in 1878.
Yeah.
And there was a person named Edith Brennan. And I said, damn, Del Toro also really likes the fucking name Edith, because also Edith from Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I was like, oh, what if this, like, I imagine what if like Edith didn't actually ever get out and recover from that Crimson Peak? And because that was kind of similar time period. And then what if she went into an asylum whenever she came back to the States?
Oh, I get what you mean.
And then went crazy and her face got all distorted and stuff. And then she jumped with the baby, and then she's just kind of like all the other ghosts from Crimson Peak.
Whole storyline, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's why there's black moths again and stuff like that. And
I like that idea.
That was my that's where my brain rolled with it.
I can see it. Well, and it's Guillermo del Toro, so like
it's all in the same world.
Yeah, it's all in that same universe.
The ghosties look the same.
It's the
she got brown
they do,
hair
yeah,
instead of blonde. The stress turned her hair brown.
It's the GDT universe, cinematic universe.
Yes.
And so we have Lily at this point. We hear Lily playing with someone, and that's whenever we kind of get a view.
Assume it's Victoria.
We assume it's Victoria, but then we see Victoria pop up like in the hallway, because we get this kind of really cool but weird shot where it's like you see Lily's room, Lily and Victoria's room, but you're also seeing the hallway, and you're also seeing like the stairway, and you see that what's her face, Miss Annabel is doing like laundry or something at this point.
Yeah, she's doing laundry down the hall because her room is at the very end of the hall, and so the door's open. You can kind of see her doing that, and then Victoria pops up from around the stairs.
Yeah,
and that's when you go,
I thought this was a really cool shot too.
It was,
because you really think she's playing with Victoria, but then you see Victoria, and then you're like, wait a minute,
who is she playing with?
And then you see her like start flying around in the freaking room,
and Lily's just laughing.
Literally, like, yeah. And this gives very much The Conjuring 2.
Yeah,
we saw freaking Janet floating in the room.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Literally, and so that's
window.
whenever I think Miss Annie was about to go check it out to see what's going on. But then, and I think because Victoria knew that was obviously Mama, and she didn't want Annabelle to get hurt, she distracts her with being like, Handsome is outside and I think he wants to come in or something like that. So she distracts her, and
like,
she goes to take care of Handsome. Yeah.
But he's crying.
Yeah.
So she turns around. Yeah. And then this is where the lights start flickering in the house. And she goes downstairs and she's in the kitchen. And this is where motherfucking Lily pops up like a goddamn gargoyle.
Oh, yeah.
On the island.
That's right. And scares the fuck out of her.
So terrifying.
Yeah. I was like, Lily, what the fuck?
I would shit myself.
I literally put Lily WTF. And then at this point, too, I'm thinking, like, where's Luke? Where's Luke been?
Yeah, these are literally your kids, Luke.
Yeah.
But also, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, damn, she's being like, most of the time, if it's a partner and something like that, like if they all of a sudden had to come into, I'm not like the biggest proponent for kids all the time, but like if my partner had to all of a sudden take care of their nieces and nephews
that were in the woods for like 5 years.
Yeah, I would be really supportive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because what else could you do? I
also don't really want to be a mom. But
it also depends.
All the time.
I mean, there's circumstances. Like, how long have they been dating? How much do you love this person? How much do you want to
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, because if you were just dating, like, because I mean, any partner I've had before, Andrew, most of the time I was just like, I'm just dating you, and there's no future. So
this is for now.
Yeah. At that point.
And so yeah, we have
seeing them on Saturday.
Oh, ACO
or Sunday.
Fun. I might try to get a ticket.
Oh my god,
scalp a ticket.
Oh my god, please come.
Mama is watching. I believe everything that's going on between Annie and the kids. Yeah.
She was watching Annie and Luke make out.
That's right. I was like, wait, what was happening? Yeah, they were making out. She's watching them.
That's when Annie
sees her. That's right. And she freaks out and she's like,
there's someone here.
Yeah.
There's someone here. And then whenever they go to check on the kids, Mama like locks them out too, and so that's
and
like,
then they're kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah,
and I'm sure they at this point they think it's just the kids like acting out.
Well, but this is where then she's like, no, I saw someone. You need to go throughout the house and check it out. And then this is where he finds this weird black spot growing in the wall, and it looks moist.
It does, yeah.
And we see a moth emerge from it.
A moth comes from it, which gives me very GDT as well, Guillermo del Toro. And they
there were some pretty moths, but then these little her little fingies pop right through,
and it just pushes him off.
pushes him over the railing, also like Crimson Peak.
Oh, it does. Yeah. Just like
and I'm wondering how in the world, I mean, obviously he was unconscious, but I was just like, how is he alive?
Yeah, because most people probably wouldn't survive that.
Yeah.
But he ends up surviving it. Because the dudes in this movie survive a lot, like driving off a cliff and falling off stairs. And he ends up in the hospital.
And we get a little veggie masher commercial that reminded me of, it was like a chopping commercial.
Yeah, the veggie chop.
But it reminded me of the veggie masher commercial from VHS. And then
you're right.
Lily sitting there going, chop, 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 chop. And I was like,
creepy little kid.
I don't like that.
I wouldn't want her around. I'd be fine with Victoria, but I'd be like, can we just can the other one stay at the hospital with you?
The first time Lily popped up like how she did, I would be like, no. And then there's another scene. And when they were watching the footage of them at the beginning too, when Dr. Doofenshmirtz was talking to them, there was this one scene where Lily was just like sitting there, like, hunched almost in like a upright fetal position. But then her head was just propped on her knees sideways and her eyes were just open, and it was a night vision. So she was just like,
yeah.
I was like,
I wonder if they're nocturnal.
The moment I saw that, I would have been like,
what if they're nocturnal?
Hard pass. They might be, because Mama
if they were brought up that way, on that schedule, their circadian rhythm, whatever time, circadian. Yeah. I love that word. It sounds like a Dr. Sarkadian. Anyways, I don't know, but anyways, we have them. Basically, it's just gonna be Annie and the girls for a little while because he's in the freaking hospital, which kind of sucks for Annabelle, who never even wanted kids in the first place.
She's like, I didn't sign up for this,
and Lily is being freaking creepy at night, so it just makes it even more harder to deal with. And we're looking at I believe,
because my note here just says, "LOL, I cannot live with that little one."
Yeah, no, she's being. I was like, she's being creepy as fuck. And then the next day we have I believe what's her face, Annie's looking at all of their wall drawings and stuff, and it's just showing Mama and how she's bent around, and it looks really creepy.
And walks it's like she walks in. You know when you have to crab walk?
Yeah.
Where you're on all fours, but your stomach is in the upright position.
Yeah. Do it. You have the headphones on, remember. Yes. Yeah. It's very much like that. Yeah, it's for gym. When you were in 5th grade and they would make you do 50 jumping jacks and then gym and then do 2 suicides and then crab walk back. Yeah.
And then walk like a bear.
Yeah. Walk like a bear.
Did you see it?
One.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Mom, did you see it? Mom, did you see it? Yeah, but
didn't see it,
she's very creepy. Use your imaginations, you guys. And so
I walked exactly like Mama
that's whenever
walks.
I believe we
Feet
also
floating
have
and everything.
The old lady that Dr. Doofenshmirtz was talking to earlier found in public records that right? Was this part? No. No.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit
further.
Later.
You're right. My bad. This is a different part. It's just that in my notes I have public records found something.
I have weird moaning coming from closet, and then I say, "Oh, it was a dream."
Yeah, because what's her face? Annie is having the dream at that point. And
then she finds the weird toy doll that looks like the one they found
in the woods.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it reminds me. Have you ever made those allspice with it? It was a very 90s thing, but it was an air freshener / Christmas ornament where you would bake this allspice kind of cookie, but it was not edible.
Oh, okay.
And you would put little raisins and stuff into it and bake it.
And
That's
it would
what
just
its
smell
face
good.
looked like.
And you would just put it somewhere to odorize the air. No, I've never heard of that, but that sounds really.
It was like a
Caucasian
allspice Play-Doh.
An allspice Play-Doh.
Get on this Play-Doh.
But you would put what in it?
Little raisins and
cloves
currants
and
cloves, cinnamon sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
And you would just make little designs and take cookie cutters and then you'd bake them, and then it was not for eating, but they looked very edible.
They were holding out on me.
I probably ate one as a kid.
I don't know.
I ate so many.
My family
things.
wasn't that festive.
Oh, this wasn't my family. It was something that we did in school.
Oh, really? Why didn't we fucking do that in school then?
This was when I was in North Carolina.
Oh.
I did a lot of weird things.
North Carolina
in North Carolina. I took Spanish in kindergarten.
Se habla español.
I can count to 10. And I know mantequilla.
Oh, butter?
Butter.
Cute.
That was from working at Cheddar's.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that comes in handy.
Mantequilla. I'd be like, for the butter croissants. I think they would just yell that.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's cute. It's a cute name. It's a cute word.
But then that was also
That's a
the
good drag
school
name.
where that should be yours.
Mantequilla.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed. I need to see that now. But that was also the same school where I spent the night at my kindergarten teacher's house.
That's
So
questionable.
we did a bunch of things that I don't know.
That you probably can't do
like
nowadays.
baking things. I don't think you're supposed to have. Well, I guess home ec was the thing.
Wake and
It
bake.
was a like K through 12. I thought
one of those schools.
Yeah.
Those, yeah, I get.
So they
this.
probably had home ec, and that's probably why we had ovens. I don't know.
Probably. It seems like one of those schools where it's like all the teachers know, like it's a very small, like I'm sure it was very small. Yeah.
I remember eating lunch with being a kindergartner and then being surrounded by like giant people. They were big kids.
Little kindergartner Caitlin in
yeah.
North Carolina.
And bangs.
And so at this point, we have Lily eating paper. Mama is doing very mama-ish things, and she's basically, it's kind of like a haunting but not a haunting. She's just trying to get Lily back.
Yeah.
And then
this is where I believe that they no. Okay, yes. Oh, I just have, she's literally so rough with them. Annie really was. She was so kind of,
she was a little rough with
I was
them,
like, oh my
just a
God.
little bit. But I mean, honestly, when you're dealing with that, at one point I put Lily as being very bitchy. Like, I don't know what's wrong, what Lily was doing at that point, but Lily was just not.
I remember at one point she was like, no,
yeah,
to them.
I used a different word, actually. I didn't even want to say what it was.
Oh.
God. She was being a very see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at one point, too, I'm like, I don't know why my notes are so disheveled at this point, you guys, but it's like, oh no, Handsome, because I think something was going to happen with Mr. Handsome. But I think it was just a little red herring. Nothing even happened with him. But yeah, the girls are up playing, and that's whenever Annie walks in.
Yeah.
And that's whenever she thinks that it's someone's in the closet, one of the girls, but it's not one of the girls, and she's like, who's in the closet? And then Victoria's
I thought
like,
this was the part that creeped me out the most, and it was because she walks in
and there's like a little shadowy thing.
I believe it's she's covered in the blanket.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not Lily though.
And it's not Lily. Yes. And that's whenever it goes and does this little thing and slips into the closet, and then she's like, wait a minute, and then she tries to go in, and that's when Victoria's like, don't look in there.
Yeah.
And she does the smart thing and actually closes it and doesn't look in there, which is the only smart decision anyone ever makes in any horror film ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
But then later on, Annabelle wakes to hearing the humming.
Yeah.
And another voice coming from the girls' room. Because the girls had been humming a little song. Did I skip something? I probably did.
Well, no, you're fine.
No,
Because the girls did. No, I was trying to catch up. No, you're good. The girls do sing that song that Mama sings to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a little nursery rhyme.
And Annie's hearing it. And yeah, that's when she's like, Victoria's warning her against going in the closet and stuff. Yeah.
Don't go in the closet. I'm like trying to find. And I'm just like.
But she for sure heard her that time. And like, so then she rightfully freaks out, and she's like, she calls Dr. Doofenshmirtz and is like, yo, I heard the woman.
Yeah. She's like, I heard Mama.
She's in there. And then that was when Dr. Doofenshmirtz says Victoria's showing signs of dissociative personality disorder and is literally taking on the role of Mama. And she was like, no, this voice was significantly deeper.
Yeah, it wasn't hers.
I guess she could have, like, I don't know, maybe she was possessed, and some
I
people
feel like
can
some people
have
would
two tones.
I was
come
about
out
to
of their-
say, when they have multiple personalities or different personalities. But yes. And all of that's going on. A lot is going on apparently in my notes. The Mama, I think Lily again, because no. Do we have finally we have the lady?
Yes.
Going to Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah, my last note says Lily is so fucking weird. And then I have I like her little quote that she says, because she's taking him through saying like, I found a little bit more. And this is like where the stuff is kept where they don't really want to remember it kind of thing.
Yeah, well, essentially these are body parts and remains that are of people that have passed away that are in evidence that they're just cold cases, essentially.
That no one's come to claim them.
And she says, frankly, I believe body parts or remains should be in the ground or like, you know, something properly taken care of, placed,
laid to
blessed,
rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As opposed
Not
to being
just
here.
in an evidence box in a giant warehouse. And then she says this really good line that also reminds me of Crimson Peak. And it says, a ghost is an emotion bent out of shape, condemned to repeat itself until it rights the wrong it's done.
Yes.
And then hands him a box, and he's like, what's this? And she says, the wrong. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. And it's the baby remains. He doesn't look at it right there, but we can assume that it's the baby remains. Yeah. And so at this point, again, I put Lily is playing with someone again. What the fuck? WTF. And that's whenever we have her playing with little Lily, but then I believe Mama comes up right behind Annabelle at this point, and she really is like right up on her. It's one of those jump scares.
It was a very fast one. And I'm laughing in my notes, so I imagine it must have like kind of got me a little bit.
Goofy.
Yeah.
And then a little like, yeah, for sure. Because it is very fast. Oh. Mama moves very fast, just like how the little girls do that little moments. Yeah.
Not a fan.
Terrifying. And it's very terrifying. And it's also taken from the little short that they had as a clip that I saw from it. It has her moving very fast. It's actually more creepy in the short minute clip. You should watch it.
I am going to.
And so we have Luke having a dream at this point too. He's at the hospital. It's showing all these different things happening, and he's having a bad dream. But like the way
it almost seems like kind of like a vision.
Yeah.
Because it is foreboding.
A vision.
It's a warning. But like simultaneously, you're also seeing all of his vitals and shit getting fucked with, and the computer's like just typing mama, 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 M-A-M-A-M-A-M-A-M-A. LMNOP.
And we see Lily is eating moths.
Oh my god.
It's so gross.
I know.
So gross at the hospital, right? Yeah.
Her mouth was
black and
it's
just
like, you know,
gross.
when you eat a cake with blue icing and your whole mouth turns black. Yeah. That was
her mouth.
I imagine these better have been little cake moths or something that they were feeding.
Yeah.
It was so gross.
So we have all that happening. Annabelle doesn't tell Luke about what's even going on at the house, or like there being creepy stuff happening or anything about the girl. She basically,
and he doesn't tell his vision either
at all. No,
and
they both have had visions at this point.
And we should talk about what his vision was. Basically, he gets this view of this an underpass, and then his
brother comes out
Jeff,
all zombie-ish.
I think his name is
maybe. Yeah.
And he's like, save my girls.
Creepy.
Oh, yes, creepy.
Excuse me, but no, funny as well. I can see what you mean. And it's because it's all white. Girls. It's washed out.
Go to the cabin. And then the doctors come rushing in because he's seizing.
Yeah.
And then you can
But it's not even really his brother. It's really Mama, like, kind of. I feel like...
You think?
Yeah, I think it was more Mama's influence because she wanted him to go to the cabin because I feel like she wanted to kill him.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder why he said save my girls, though.
I think it was more so because she knew that would play up on him going over there thinking he would save his girls going to the cabin.
I was hoping it was his brother coming through.
I don't know. I don't think it was.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to Bill. And so Jeff... and so we have the next day, I believe this is whenever Victoria is telling Miss Annie that she doesn't want her to get hurt, and Annie's like, well, why would I get hurt? And Victoria's being very ominous, and she's just like, I just don't want you to get hurt.
And like Annie's like, why are you saying that? And like tries to do a nice loving gesture of brushing her hair away from her face, and
Victoria's like, nah, don't do that.
She recoils so quickly and says, you can't do that, and she just says she gets jealous, and it was like, girl.
Yep.
And then she's like staring past her too, which is
she's looking like as she's staring at someone else, and then that sounds like Mama. And then we have
hers sounded more like weird garbles. She was like
it took two people voicing her, actually. Two different people voiced her.
At this time a man also portrayed. So what was it, and what film were we talking about?
Oh, he was in The Conjuring. He played the Crooked Man, and he played Bathsheba, and played a few other things.
And then this guy, is it the same guy?
Oh, I don't know if you're this dude has played Javier Botet is this dude's name. Yeah. And he's been in The Conjuring 2. He was not Bathsheba, sorry, no. But he was in The Conjuring 2 and Crimson Peak.
The guy who was their
Insidious.
The person who wrote their music for The Conjuring or something. He had played, and he was Insidious as well. Wait. I wonder. if this is no, it's not.
No.
He said he's not in Conjuring 1. Okay.
This is a Spanish actor. No. And
Well,
he's
a man
this
played
guy
him as well. Or her as well.
Well, this guy also what's it called when you are the best at something, or he specializes in like doing things where it's like
creepy.
Yeah, like your bones looking like they're not moving in the right way.
He gets first place for being a contortionist.
Creepity crap.
No, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, like a contortionist, sure.
Kind of. He can move in weird ways. Anyways.
Or he's just double jointed. And so at this point,
Jean rolls up. Beep beep.
Yeah. That's her name, Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep calling her Aunt Karen. So Aunt Jean rolls up, and at this point, she has a day that she comes to like visit the girls. It's already set, and Miss Annie forgot that this was her day to come. So the girls don't look the best. The house looks a mess, and that's whenever Jean starts getting really judgmental. And then Annie's like, you know what, bitch, get the fuck out. Yeah. And so she tells her to get out.
Get the hell out of my house before I kick your ass.
She was like, see you next time. See you next week. And so that's whenever, of course, Miss Aunt Karen calls social services, and she's like,
the moment she gets in the car.
Yeah, and it's like, I'd like to report some child negligence. And that's whenever.
What do I do if I believe my nieces are being abused?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So lame. So lame, Karen.
But also great to do if
children are being abused, but not in this situation.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever we figure out that I believe Dr. Doofenshmirtz, right? We go back to him. He's talking to Victoria.
Yeah, I think so. And
because he's trying to ask her like where Mama is and stuff and all that stuff. I think this was the number 7.
Yeah, and we're getting at the same time a phone call between Lucas and Annie where he's basically saying like, she's being a little unsupportive again.
Oh shit, yes.
And saying like she doesn't really like, I didn't sign up for this, like hurry up and get better so you can come watch them. And he's like, obviously like they're going to be the most important thing in the world to me.
And she's like, them, not me.
Yeah. And it's like, well, fucking clearly, dude, like this is his actual family.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who
There's a little understanding on both sides, but yes. Mm-hmm.
But that's like, I feel like the whole idea of when some parents give birth and then get jealous of their spouse giving the child more attention than they are to them.
That's just crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, that's your child.
Yeah.
That's your child.
Mm-hmm.
But okay.
It's your child too, yeah. And so we have Dr. Doofenshmirtz with Victoria asking her like, where's Mama? He's like, did she come with you? All these kind of questions.
And it really escalates quite quickly.
It really does.
Because then he starts yelling at her.
He does.
And I was like, boy, you are a professional.
I was like, what the fuck?
Or supposed to be.
Is his name Gerald?
That sounds...
Gerald Doofenshmirtz?
Dr. Gerald Doofenshmirtz.
Because I was like, Gerald, what the fuck?
Helvetica.
Yeah. Yeah, he's yelling at her. Poor thing's been through a lot, and he's just trying to use her for his book. But nonetheless, that's whenever... at this point we have I just have putting 2 and 2 together, and Annabelle's having a nightmare.
Yeah, he basically leaves from the house. He's like, I was like, oh, Mama gonna get you, sir.
Oh, that's right.
Because after he yells at her, Victoria kind of looks like up into the corner, and he's like,
that's right,
hard pass.
And then when he walks out the house, he sees a figure in the window. Mm-hmm. That's right.
And he says, Annie's like, what's wrong? And he was like, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And just scurries out of the house. And I'm like, bitch, don't lie and say nothing as you're literally running from the house.
He's literally leaving
like
because he's getting a little spooky ooky vibe.
You're not convincing anyone.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that there is a connection between how are we saying it?
Helvetia. I don't know.
Helvetia.
We're not saying any specific way.
And the house. Basically, he's like, okay, there's some sort of connection. And that's when he's connecting 2 and 2 together. And so he starts heading to Clifton Forge.
To go to the cabin.
But yes, now Jessica,
Annabelle
Annie
is having a nightmare.
Having this flashback.
Intense nightmare.
It was a little
it's whenever
comical.
It is, because we see that we're basically seeing what happened to Mama. Edith. And we go back to whenever she was basically in an insane asylum because she had something wrong with her, and she was pregnant, gave birth to her baby, and was deemed unfit to like raise her child. So they took her child away from her, and then she ended up going and attacking and killing like these nuns or whatever.
I'm assuming they were choosing to raise the child in a convent.
Yeah, exactly. Kills them, and then
with some sort of a knitting needle,
I don't know,
which also reminded me of The Conjuring and
but
actual Bathsheba.
Kills them and is able to get away away with the baby, and then she just gets chased by a mob until she then ends up going to a cliff. And then when she jumps off the cliff because there's nowhere else to go, apparently, she falls off and goes down. And then we see like this branch, and there's more to it later. But yeah, for sure.
A branch. Her body hits the branch. We see, and then eventually, I believe we see her actually hit the water.
She hits the
water,
and the baby
is
stuck
still
in the
up
branch.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, and
so now we know what happened to the baby.
And as
all this is
Edith's
happening,
body actually hits the water, Annabelle kind of wakes from her dream.
Mm-hmm.
So we think
like that. Yeah.
We think she's woken up, but then she
it's
looks
still
over.
A dream.
Yeah, and Victoria's
when you wake
staring
up in a dream.
at her, which is terrifying because Victoria's just like next to her bed, like
scared.
That's what terrifies me about having kids, is them just walking up in the middle of the night and sitting there and be like, "Mama," like just staring at me.
And then she's looking at something under the bed. We hear something under the bed. Annabelle's like, "Oh my God, there's something under the bed."
She's
and
like,
then,
"Victoria, what's under the bed?"
Yeah, and then Mama comes up and like attacks her.
And we get a pretty good view of her face there too. And I was like, actually, her face is pretty creepy.
It's very scary.
I think I said this with Crimson Peak as well. I believe Del Toro actually does a phenomenal job of his monsters. They're horrifying, but they're also beautiful.
They're beautiful.
And so I really do enjoy whenever they show. Yeah, he does.
Creature design.
He does. And then her gargling is super weird. This is where she comes up over the bed and she's like,
she does. Super creepy. And that's that. And then at this point, I believe we also have, it's all happening during nighttime. Lily is getting what's her face? Mama wants to take
Mama's
Lily with her. She's trying to take her. Yeah. And she wants to take Lily with her out the window. And Lily is trying to tell Victoria, like, "Victoria, come." And Victoria's like, "Victoria, stay." And like turns the other way. It's kind of a really sad moment between the sisters.
Hair come out through the window. And the way, whenever Victoria, she says.
She stays.
And she turns over, and the way that Lily starts like hitting her. Like, "Victoria, come. Mama."
And you can hear Victoria crying.
Yeah. And then that's when she finally flips around and is like, "Victoria, stay."
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's a very sad moment. But Lily does end up leaving.
Through the fucking window.
Yeah. But at the same time,
story.
we have supernatural. At the same time, we have Gerald showing up at the cabin, and he is trying to look into this. He's trying to, of course, like everyone does, elicit a response from the spirit. And he's like trying to talk to her.
Night,
and he's trying to talk to her. And then obviously we start hearing Mama's like noises, those little, And then he brings out a camera, and it reminds me of that noise whenever it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he's taking photos, and every time he takes a photo, obviously we see the spirit of Mama, and it's like this very, if you have...
And you don't get him for the first, like, probably 5 photos, but then she finally does start emerging.
Up, and she gets super close, and then starts attacking him very violently.
And then she fucking snaps his neck, and the camera's still going. It's like continuing to flash. I don't know if he had some sort of weird nighttime burst on or something, even though he was also literally
because he's like, "I know your name," because guys, this is not The Conjuring, and you're not the Warrens, but so he gets killed off. And then the next morning, we find Lily is outside in the bushes asleep, and it's freezing cold outside apparently.
And when Annie gets up, she has a weird mark on the back of her neck.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I was like, is it feeding on her? Which I do believe it was, because whenever it was under the bed before, like you saw her like burying her face into the mattress right underneath her. Annie was sleeping,
probably doing
which is
to her.
The idea of something coming from within the mattress. So scary.
Yeah,
it's like in The Conjuring 3, the devil
Monsters
made me do
inside
it.
me. Yeah, that's true.
When in the waterbed, never. I'm glad that movie didn't come out when I had a waterbed, because I would have
freaked out.
I would have been sleeping on the ground outside like Lily.
They would have had to have gotten rid of the waterbed. But yes, we have Lily outside's freezing. Annie finds her, and she brings her inside, and she wants to warm her up, and Lily's being a little bitch again.
She's like straight up grappling
like
with Lily,
fighting her, and
the way she's got her leg
literally, and Lily's just like, "Stop." And so finally she gets her to stop, and she's like breathing on her hands, and Lily's like, oh my God, that actually feels really fucking nice.
I like this.
Yeah.
What is this warm
And
presence, not a cold ghost presence?
Looks at her very like kind of warmingly at that point, I think, for the first time.
I put, aw, Lily sees a mama in her.
Yeah, and that's whenever I think we already see like, oh shit, this is gonna be bad for Annie because Mama, as we know, gets very jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I love the way that next she's like nailing the window shut.
Oh,
and it
that's
was
right.
really cute. And she was like, windows bad. What do we do if we want to go outside? And Victoria's like, use the stairs. And then she goes, Lily. And Lily goes, use stairs.
Use stairs.
It was really cute.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
and
then
you can
even
see it's a really
Annie's
big
face.
moment for all like character growth because then even Annie, I think at that point is like, well, I can do this. This is cool.
She kind of smiles and it's like,
mm-hmm.
oh, I had a nice
that's kind of cute
moment with this child now.
And then that's whenever
this is where they're cooking breakfast.
That's right.
Because I don't know what the fuck Victoria pulled off that stove, but it looked like weird
bad.
gray noodles.
Yeah.
And I was like, ew. I was like, whatever.
Because
also, why is Victoria cooking breakfast and not you, Annie?
Exactly, because we also think that Annie thinks that
this
Lily,
is where Lily was
the
in the
closet.
corner.
That's right. And
Yeah.
then she thinks Lily is in the closet, but it's not Lily. It's really Mama. And then she's like, don't go in the closet. And then she doesn't go in the closet.
Oh, and see, look, I put, this was the actual scene that creeped me out, JK.
Sorry,
Because earlier I had put, this is a scene that I remember
Not
most
me
creeping
doing
out.
the same, not us doing the same thing right now.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
LOL.
This is actually
I
the
still
same.
forgot.
But they go look. This is all very creepy. Annie's very creeped out, so she's like, I gotta go see Dr. Doofenshmirtz. So they go to see Dr. Doofenshmirtz, but when they get there, what happened? Did I pass something?
No.
Oh, when they go see Dr. Doofenshmirtz, that's whenever they're there at his office and they're trying to see him, and they're like, hi, we're here to see Gerald, and the receptionist is just like crying because she literally, I guess,
something bad happened to him.
yeah. And I think she even gets a phone call as well at that point, walks out of the room as she's crying.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's whenever Annie goes in and she starts stealing the tapes and his laptop and all these files that
it was right
he has.
in that moment whenever she went to go get the files and she was like, stay here. And she walked over and I was like, not the belt over her shirt. Let's go.
The styling.
Her fashion choice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, actually, but this is metal AF. She just steals all the case files and leaves.
She does.
I was like, damn.
That's it. And she's like, let's go, girls.
You're not hardcore unless you live hardcore.
And so they end up getting this, and at the same time we have Luke leaving the hospital and sneaking out essentially because he wants to go to the cabin
because he finally realizes he's looking through some case files or something,
exactly,
and he sees a picture of Wilson Pass, and
that's
he was
from
like,
his vision.
Oh, this is near Clifton Forge, and
where the girls were found.
Yeah.
And so he wants to go back, which he does, and at this point,
but also without telling anyone.
Yeah, it doesn't. And then Annie also wasn't
fucking
discharged.
Communicate, people.
And Annie is listening to tapes. She is essentially kind of putting her own 2 and 2 together on everything that's happening, and she's figuring out as well that Dr. Doofenshmirtz
hypnotherapy
was
session 6
fucking making a whole book and basically exploiting the girls for his personal gain. And yeah, she's listening to it all. And
figuring, kind of putting 2 and 2 together with her like visions as well.
Yeah.
Like she fell into the water, but the baby didn't. Baby got stuck in a branch. And then I just have a note that says, ew, Lily eating Victoria's hair. They were like laying in bed and Victoria's hair was over the thing.
And I think that's when Victoria tells Annabelle that she loves her.
Yes.
Around that area. And then that's whenever all that happens, and when Mama's very pissed off that Victoria said that to her, because this is kind of like a climax starts happening where we have her showing up. And
Annie opens the box and we see the remains of we actually see the remains. Yeah. Well, we don't see the actual remains. We see
it like wrapped up.
It's
something
clearly
wrapped up.
a skull wrapped in a cloth.
Yeah.
And we also get whenever he was interviewing her and she's like, he says, why won't Mama come out? And she says she won't come because she knows you're watching.
Yeah.
And then that part was kind of creepy too.
Mm-hmm. And so then we have essentially Mama coming. She's not holding back anymore, and she starts attacking Miss Annabel. And that's whenever we get like this whole scene of them going through the house.
And it's because Jean is breaking in.
Oh, and that's true.
That's why
right.
the girls went to go investigate some noises in the house. They even went downstairs at all because they heard someone in there. And then because Annie's still downstairs listening to the tapes.
Yeah.
And Lily gets into, I guess, the entryway, looks into that foyer across the way, and she's just sitting there staring at Mama, and Victoria's like, don't look at her, she's mad. And then she fucking charges them.
Yeah.
It was so scary.
It's very scary. And then they're running and they're scared and they're screaming and everyone's scared.
And Mama, like, we get a good all, like, full on Mama shows herself. And and this is where Annabelle, like, comes in, and she's like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah.
And then
this is where she starts walking like a crab.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Her back, like,
and then that's whenever remind me what's going on at this point, because my notes,
she's basically, there's a,
because my next note is like she's sucking the life out of Annabelle.
that is exactly what my
right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're all fighting.
Yeah.
It's not fighting, but essentially there's just a lot of commotion going on and a lot of people running and being scared. And then we have
she's literally sucking the life out
Annabelle
of her.
on the floor, and Miss Mama sucking the life out of her, and then Victoria's like, no, you promised. You promised you wouldn't hurt. Yeah, exactly. And so Miss Mama looks at her, and she goes and takes the glasses off of Victoria because she crushes them, because she's like, no, not in my house. And then,
you aren't gonna see.
Literally.
You can't see the truth.
That's
you can't
true.
see anything better than me.
And all that's happening, we want her to leave her alone. That's what Victoria is screaming out. But then that's whenever Aunt Karen gets possessed.
Yeah. Because
Aunt
that's where we
Jean.
flash back down to Jean actually being in the house, and we get this like fucking mob of hair just like
Going right up to her, yeah.
across the floor.
And
then
her
she
face is so
gets her.
scary when she gets possessed.
Yeah, and Jean's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jean's,
whenever she turns around, she straight up looks like she should have been in Coraline.
Yeah.
Or something. And then there's like moths crawling out of her mouth and shit. Oh, it was pretty creepy.
It's pretty scary. Yeah. And so all that's happening is it's so intense because it happens all very fast.
It's like bam, 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 bam.
And because that's happening, Miss
Annabelle comes
Annie
too.
comes back too, and she's like, "What the fuck? Oh shit!" And so then she
all
grabs
the kids are gone.
all the kids are gone. She grabs the remains and she's like, "Getting to go." She's getting the caboodle out of there, and then she goes to the cabin area. But that's whenever
She runs into
the fucking Luke of all people.
Yeah.
And then there's no like, "What are you doing here? Wait, what do you?" It's like, "Hey, I'm here. And then it's just like, "We gotta get the girls." Like, there's no like, it's as if they were already in communication with each other.
I guess they're in crisis mode.
Maybe.
And they're both realizing like, fuck, shit is going down.
Yeah.
If they're both led here
yeah.
at the same time, I guess they must be like, okay, something's happening.
Because they end up getting to the cabin and they see Jean just kind of like standing really creepily in the middle of the room, and then she just kind of like falls apart essentially.
Yeah, and
it's
she
really
falls
gross.
back.
Yeah, it's
kind of
gross.
like how Mama does.
And she's officially dead at this point, I'd say. And they are freaking out. And then they go out of the house because they're like, where the fuck are they at? And they see that her and the babies are on the cliff. And so they run up to the cliff. And that's whenever
Mama's being kind of sweet, putting little things in their hair.
she's getting ready to kill them. And that's whenever Miss Annie comes up and she's yelling at them, and she's like, not my kids, don't take them. And we have Mama freaking out on them, and she ends up what? Hitting
yeah, because she's
Annie?
like over the edge. She's like floating there with her arms wide open. Like
she's trying to take them. Yes, that's right. And that's whenever Annabelle keeps fighting to keep on and hold on to Victoria.
Yeah. And well, that was like the first time Lily starts running towards her. And then, that's when she starts like killing Luke. She like grabs his face whenever he tries to grab Lily from running into her arms.
Yeah.
And she's like killing him.
My baby.
And then Annabelle's like, Edith. And then is like, this baby. And
that's right.
Pulls out
she
the
tries
baby.
to give her little skeleton baby. That's right.
Yeah.
Her real
and
baby.
then she's giving the baby, and the way that, so at this point, my closed captioning was saying purring. Like, so Mama was like,
purring.
And then she was also doing this weird teeth clacking thing. Like, I make that noise in my sleep sometimes. Isn't that terrifying?
You're just like Mama. You're a ghost.
I am Mama.
You're a supernatural ghost. See, you're already for kids.
Yay.
And so she does look at it. She
kittens.
is looking at the little ghosty skeleton remain baby in her arms, and she kind of seems like, okay, this is it. This is good. We're good.
almost,
we gave her the baby. This is it.
Felt like
but
we were
it's
gonna
because
have
of fucking dumb Lily. It's Lily.
redemption.
It's Lily, because honestly, I feel like she would have took that skull thing and went on and like.
Because she even turned to this like beautiful blue, like
it's like
glowing
Samara
light.
coming back.
Yeah,
Like,
she was,
her normal
her
self.
skin wasn't sunken in as much anymore.
She looked like she did when she was alive.
Yeah, and even probably a little bit better.
And the afterlife glow.
Yeah.
And she literally, but then Lily has to be like, Mama,
And then now Mama's mad that her baby's dead. She's like, I want that alive
I want the real one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, literally. And so then, of course, she once again tries to take these kids.
She yeets that baby.
And she yeets it, and then she picks up Annabelle and just crushes Annabelle almost to death.
That's true.
Drops her. And then we have her trying to walk away with the kids, and that's when Annabelle's then, trying to reach on to Victoria. And then she's like...
And it was so sad. Victoria's
Mama keeps pushing her down.
Victoria's like, goodbye.
Victoria doesn't really want to go.
And she was she was like, goodbye. And I was like, do not go with Mama. And then she keeps going, go to sleep, Annabelle. Like, sleep now, sleep. And that's what Mama was trying to do, was just make her unconscious for a little bit. And
but she wanted the kids. She wanted Victoria
Annabelle
and Louis.
had some fight, and true love overcame Mama's sleepiness.
And I think Mama even saw too, Victoria didn't want to go with her. And I feel like she also then saw at that moment, I'm a mama. I have my baby. She got her baby. I don't want to take her baby because I know I don't want my baby to get taken. So it's very you have this one, I take this one.
Yeah.
It was very much like that.
You get the best of both.
And then we have Lily, freaking dumbass Lily, going into Mama's arms. They kind of fly off the cliff. And we get this beautiful cocoon moment.
I do think
situation.
It's a good callback when Lily says, Victoria, come, Mama. Yeah. And then Victoria's like, Victoria, stay. And Victoria says, goodbye, Mama. I love you. And it was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, what a good, nice little callback.
And I love how they come and wrap into this
to
beautiful little cocoon thing. And then they just plummet so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then hits the branch and just turn into moths.
And burst into a bunch of moths. And then everyone's sitting there crying. Obviously, Annabelle is hugging Victoria.
And somehow everyone's still alive.
Lucas has come to.
Annabelle.
And while Annie is hugging Victoria and crying, this little moth comes and lands on Victoria's hand. And she goes,
Lily.
She goes, Lily?
Because it was a blue moth and not a gray moth.
Yeah, and so we can assume that it was Lily. And then we kind of get... it ends with Lily flying over the camera, basically, as the rest are huddled off on the edge and crying on the cliff. And then this is where I was like, okay, but why did she need to kill another kid to move on? Because if that was the wrong...
My notes are just that Lily's stupid.
Well,
I was so mad. No, I know she knows no better, but she's still stupid.
And honestly, I was...
Because if she wouldn't have been Mama, right? I feel like it would have...
It could have been solved. But then Lily probably... I mean, I guess it did. Well, it was clear that if Annie was to show some nurturing values, that Lily would have come along.
Yeah.
But almost ultimately, I feel like that was the better option for Lily. She got to be, and it was clear that there was some sort of afterlife, and they got to be together.
Yeah, she got turned into
moths.
A moth. Yeah.
And then she'll probably live for a month
and die and turn into something else.
Yeah.
But that is 2013's Mama, which was selected by Jeff, our listener Jeff. Do we want to
give
Jeff's
first?
Input? Yeah, let's do Jeff first.
Or maybe we want to say yours first because I have it pulled up.
And
or we could cut out this part.
It's fine. I'll go right now. My B rating for this movie is going to be a solid 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah. A little bit more than right in the middle. It's held up. I've seen it now probably 4 or 5 times. Could probably watch it another time and it would still be I'm not bored of this, The storyline's good. The design of Mama is really good. I like how we don't see her until kind of more halfway through, and the film is kind of shot where it's a lot of times it's a little dark, so you don't get to see a lot of it all the way, but it's like you said, how you love the mystery of it, and it's just more creepy that way.
Yeah.
And eerie, and even when you do see her, she's really creepy, and the way she moves is very creepy.
It is. And her sounds are, even though I was
it's so infuriating to me that Lily freaking does what she does at the end. So bitch. It's kind of it's kind of a fun when I get mad every time, it's kind of it's what kind of makes the movie for me.
It's still eliciting very real reactions from me.
Maddening. How dare she?
How dare she?
So stupid. But yeah, that's my rating, a 3.5.
3.5. Okay. Jeff's?
Let's put Jeff in the middle.
Great. So, part 1. It's not actually that long, but it does say part 1. And then the next message is part 2. It's because
Prologue.
Instagram won't let you send super long messages.
Gotcha.
So he says, okay, so I watched Mama again for the last night for the nth time. Still fucking love it. And I think I can safely say I would give it a 4.75 booze. A little ghost. The only thing for me that keeps it from a 5 is that I think it was a victim of horror at the time and leaned a bit too much into jump scares, which, yes, there were a few.
Yeah.
Like whenever Annabelle's looking in the closet after that whole actual scene where she thought Lily was in the corner, we get that almost very cheap jump scare of Mama in the corner. And it's like, I didn't really need to see that there.
Yeah.
So I can see what like he means by that. And he says, outside that, I love the imagery that's used throughout the movie. The silhouette and form of Mama is amazing. I think the movie was paced really well, and the character growth of Annabelle and the connection between her and the girls that grew was played out really well. I love the use of blurred vision for some scenes through Victoria's eyes, and I totally agree with that. As they remind me of seeing shit without my glasses on. And when I say seeing shit, I mean things that aren't there, but that's another story. Oh, a ghost story. Interesting. I'll have to know. Another big part of why I love this movie so much is that it fucks with the conventional safety of a bed. I love the use of dreams, nightmares to tell her story. And he said, oh my, that scene with Mama under the bed pressing through it. Nope.
Yeah. Scary.
And you do not want to fuck with like the safe area of your bed.
That's true.
And so he says, I also love the end when they show the duality of love with Light Edith and Mama. And we also need to shout out Louise, the wise archivist that dug up all the key intel and she put everything on track. She's a true hero. Great. Yeah. Shout out Louise because we just called her old lady.
Shout her out.
And P.S. I also cannot, even with Jessica Chastain rocking tats and a pixie cut in this movie, we shit on her hair. I'm sorry, Jeff. We hated her hair.
I know.
And
just not my favorite.
And then he said, and also if you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend check out the short that inspired the movie. And so if you have the DVD, he says it was included on my DVD copy of the movie, but I believe you can find it on YouTube's.
Cool.
And he says, blah, blah, blah. The rest was a response to a conversation we were having.
That's awesome.
So,
we love your pick, Jeff. Obviously, I gave it a 3.5. Actually, I might be inclined to give it a 3.75.
3.75.
Yeah.
3.75, a 4.75. And what shall I give it? I think a 4.
4.
Yeah. It was super easy to get through.
Yeah, it is. It's very well paced, like you said,
digestible,
actually.
Very well paced. The ending, it's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And then it's just kind of like, we're done?
That's it.
And you're like, wait, did a baby really just die?
She did.
I remember that's why I sat there the first time just being like,
oh, shit.
Fuck. I was like, the little kid's dead. Oh, okay. Okay, Lily's dead. Okay.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
Well, we had one alive, excuse me, guys, and then one unalive, so I feel like...
But she was living
because it would have been different if they both went, and I would have been like, oh, shit.
This is dark as fuck.
That would have been really like, I don't know if I would have been like as satisfied with that ending.
Yeah.
But
it was good. And it's just like, I know we talked about it in Scream 5, like when Dewey dies and stuff, spoiler alert. But there's something nice about a main character dying.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. It's a little bit more satisfying in the sense of it just
so good.
It adds more weight, more the stakes are higher.
Yeah, the stakes are higher. And
they were.
Like any story I've ever read and
they were very high off that cliff.
They were.
Yeah.
And then they fell. But you know, that's it does make you kind of appreciate things more. And so I think that ending, had it ended any other way, probably
would have been too
as
happy.
Good.
Yeah, too perfect.
Yeah, too happy or too fucking sad. So for all around beautifully shot. Again, I do love Del Toro's use of imagery and the way that he shoots these monsters or ghosts and things that are typically meant to be. It's like you want to look away and you're like, oh, but then you're also like, wait, but that's so cool. Yeah, I love the way it looks. I don't know. And I loved the way that, you know, her hair always looked as if it was floating through water.
Yeah, it was.
And stuff too. She was like constantly, her entire
whole body
being was very watery.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really great. So yeah, solid 4 from me. 3.75 and a 4.75
makes it 4.25. That's what I would go for.
Yeah.
Yep. 4.25 for the 2013's Mama. And once again, we are in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right.
Please make sure you check our show out. And all their other lovely shows on roguemedianetwork.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also listen to these shows on all of your major listening platforms, the top two probably being
Spotify
and Apple.
But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe,
because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you want to let us know what movies you would like to be covered, or if you have thoughts on any of the ones that we previously covered, anything like that, you can always reach out to us on our one social media platform, Instagram, at
BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES Podcast, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, it's almost Halloween, you guys.
Halloween, you guys. For real. I'm so excited.
Oh, and by the way, next week we're watching, or at the end of this week, we're watching Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Yay, Sam.
Yes. Yay. Yeah, it was such a good movie.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yay.
Awesome, you guys. Well, until then, bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Join the ultimate celebration of digital content with its creators, passionate fans, and industry experts. It's all happening in downtown Waco across multiple venues on January 20th through the 22nd, 2023. Tickets are on sale now at roguecon23.com.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't rap, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.